viewers, welcome back to the channel. Wanted to do a video review at 200 miles and 60 hours on the Can-Am Defender Limited that I've had a little over a year, which is my most used vehicle out of everything I have other than the vehicles I run on the highway. My off-road equipment, this is the most used vehicle that I have. I'm going to do a real world owners. I get upset. I guess I do get mad. Someone made a comment on the Can-Am Outlander Max that I was reviewing and said, this guy is just giving his opinion. I thought to myself, isn't that what people do when they review something? What's more, those of you in YouTube who actually buy this equipment and aren't paid to review it via commercials on your channel or in your salary as your job, those of us owners, are putting our money behind this equipment and buying it. So I'm going to give you a fair, real-world review of this machine, the pluses and the negatives. There's not a lot of negatives, but I have to be honest and share them with you. So let's get started and get into this video. By the way, I'm in my favorite spot that I'm a month early getting to on my property, and I call it Marauder Island. I don't know if you can see the creek behind me. I call it Marauder Island, and it's surrounded, almost entirely surrounded by a creek. And usually I'm here a month later than I am in this video. Usually I'm here in October. Really cleaned it up last year, did even more this year. Got the excavator over here, you'll see that video. Give you a quick look around Marauders Island. Okay, let's do a review of this machine. So let's get to reviewing 200 miles, 60 hours on my Can-Am Defender Limited. Let's go through briefly about this machine. I bought it a year ago last July. It had very small, I think 27-inch Maxxis. Yeah, I think they're Maxxis. They're Maxxis Bighorn tires 2.0, which is an excellent tire. But I had these tires on my XMR. These are 32-inch Evil 1 tires, and give it up. These tires look great. Now on my XMR, they rubbed a little bit on the firewall. On this machine, I had to go to Super ATV and put on 2-inch offset forward A-arms to move the tire away from the inner fender well. It actually moved the tires 2 inches forward. I put these A-arms on. I have a video of that. The hardest part of doing that was aligning the tires. Weeks apart, I was still adjusting the alignment on the tires. No excessive wear, but as one viewer noticed, the rim was wearing on a shock mount on the tire because it wasn't adjusted right. So man, you viewers really look at these videos. So after several weeks, maybe even a month and a half, after 3 or 4 tries, I did get it aligned correctly. Also, the stroke on the steering wheel is even as you go left, as you go right, and it's excellent. The alignment's excellent. Now, I did have to put, some of you have asked, I did put a spacer as part of the kit from Super ATV. There is a spacer on the steering rack that slides across. It's a 1/2-inch spacer. I cut it in half. I thought it was too much, and now I have a 1/4-inch spacer on each side of the rack. Steering is great, not a big deal. It's a little diminished, not even noticeable. Things that I think came with the Limited was the bumper and the winch, 4,500 pound winch. Actually, I think it's a 3,500 pound winch. I put the LED light bar on. It has pretty good lights, not great. The fender flares make the machine. the fender flares make the machine. So I have fender flares on the machine. I also added a rear bumper and a rear view mirror. You can see it up there with a camera, which is mounted down here. It might be too low light levels, so you can't see it. Marauders, viewers, I was gonna clean this machine up for this review, and I said, I'm not doing it. Let them see it how I use it. Now, the fender flares, these, I really think set it apart from a Polaris Ranger. It really gives it a safari look. I also added rock sliders, which are, to me, are a must on any side-by-side, especially if you're gonna ride off-road. I have yet to see anyone on YouTube that has the rock sliders with the fender flares mounted. I had to do some custom trimming on the fender flare in this location, but I think it's an awesome look. Let's go through the negatives with it. The negatives on this machine. I've had issues with the engine. I was buying Can-Am because of the Rotax engine, especially the 1000cc Rotax engine. In this machine, it's about 81 horsepower. They are torque monsters. They run great. Oil changes, but great engine. I've had problems with this idling smoothly. In fact, for most of the time I've had it, I think I've been hitting partially on one cylinder, the forward cylinder. I've had it back to the dealership several times. They recommended changing the gas. I've pumped the gas out of this machine several times. Should post those videos, because during the winter the gas sits in it. And by the way, I use ethanol-free gas, and I put stabilizer in my gas. Every gallon of gas that is used on this property, including diesel, has stabilizer in it. The last time I took it in, I played a video actually for the service manager, who's excellent, and he said that engine isn't running right. Brought it in, it had a cracked forward spark plug. Now, I don't know if that it had it, that they replaced the plug months and months and months ago. That may have been one of the issues. I think they also looked at the engine mapping. I have been driving it in low around the property, and the engine has been running better. Mainly 99% of the time I'm using this machine on my property every weekend for something, and during the week I tour the property, just go for drives, me and my wife, sometimes my mother-in-law, with this machine. It is the most used machine I have, the most used, just because I'm using it every week here, and some machines, other off-road machines, I don't use for months. So, issue one, the engine. Issue number two, this is heated and air conditioned. It's climate controlled. It will definitely cool you up and heat you down, but it always defaults to the high fan mode whenever it's running. So if I shut it off, okay, it's reset, turn it on, it's on high fan mode. Even if I turn it on to low. Second critical thing that, and I'm splitting hairs. Second thing which I don't like about the heating control is that if you do have gloves on, it's not the easiest thing to control. The shut off button is this little button here. The thermostat, you can control the thermostat, but then to control the fan, you have to toggle through to the fan control. And then if you want to toggle through and have it on just cooling, you have to toggle through to that and hit that. And that is cumbersome with gloves. And usually my wife and I, we never agree on the temperature, and dials would be much easier. Let's shut it off. I would say my third negative is the lights. They definitely, when you're buying a machine this expensive, it should have LED lights in my opinion, and it doesn't. They're not horrible lights, but I really wish they were LEDs. They need to be brighter. I'll show you an inside look, and I'll give you my fourth negative on the machine. And again, in one of my videos I commented, this is my tool and camera caddy. I wanted you to see just how I use it. The passenger seat is filled with cameras. This is how I use this machine. My next criticism is a machine this expensive and that has this beautiful of an interior should come with a stereo for the price you're paying. I want to say this was $25,000 or $26,000. I think Can-Am should have had a stereo in it, as standard equipment. I also think they should have put in a rear view mirror as standard equipment, and it should come with front and rear bumpers. It only came with a front bumper, but I think it should have a rear bumper. Next critique is the doors. I think the doors are rugged and heavy. They don't always shut all the way, especially with my wife, and the bottom flaps a little bit. When it was idling rough, the whole door was actually knocking a little bit on it when it was idling rough. And it's not doing that anymore because the engine is running very smoothly. Let's move on to the positives. I told you the negative, the problems I was having with the, one other thing. The windshield did not seat properly, and I was going to clean this off, and I was going to show you. This is what I do. Biggest thing we do with this machine, not necessarily in the windshield. My brother has a John Deere Gator, you know, which I helped him select with a cab. He wanted something with a cab, and that's when I was drawn to this machine. My brother says, why do you have a $26,000 cab side by side? To pick up sticks. Really, that's what I do with it. Camera cart, tool tote, run around the property, picking up sticks, putting them in bonfires like this, all taking tours around my property with my family. That's what I use it for. The frame needed to be readjusted on the window. It wasn't shutting all the way, and actually it was making somewhat of a popping noise, something where it wasn't seated correctly. And great mechanic at my dealer put some spacers in, realigned the roll bar system, the cab on it, and now the window shuts. Great. The positive, the engine. The engine is a great engine. I've had some issues with it idling. Might be rare, especially with the air conditioning and heating, but the engine is a very strong engine. It's reliable, ton of power. Second positive, clutch. Clutch is outstanding. I roll in and out of the throttle on my machines. Many people would have this machine with the 32-inch tires and want to put a clutch kit on it. If you're mudding, if you're in the Rocky Mountains and doing a lot of huge hills, maybe even if you're rock crawling, I can see you putting a clutch on it. This clutch has handled these tires fine. It also has a system on it, an electronic system that prevents you from burning your belt. It works. I discovered it because I was going up a very steep hill at my hunting property. In high, I stopped and wanted to see if the machine would start again, and the system came on and it dithers the throttle so you don't burn up the clutch. There's my stream crossing behind me when I've been in high, and it will come on. I've used it in the video where I was running around my backyard in 2 feet of snow. Stopped in high gear in very deep snow, restarted, and the clutch protection system comes on. I don't think you can burn up the belt on this machine. That electronic system protects that clutch. I took the clutch apart, the cover off it, inspected it. I have a video of that. I've never posted it. The belt was in perfect condition. So the clutch is a strength. The looks of the machine, especially with my accessories on it. Man, the looks of this machine. I grew up watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, as probably many of you did. And I have to tell you, this reminds me of, I think they used Land Rovers or maybe Toyota four-wheel drives on that show. This reminds me of that. The look of this machine is outstanding. I will tell you, for the most part, the fit and finish on the machine is outstanding. Big plus for me, the camo. I always wanted a camo machine. This one, I think it looks the best in camo. And the camo doesn't show dirt, doesn't show swirl marks or smudge like paint does, and it's very durable. So I really like the camo on the machine. Interior. I came off, just remembered another negative. Some people that have Rangers feel that the Ranger has more room on the interior of the cab. All our bodies are different. I was 6'3" at one time. Now I might be 6'1" and a quarter. When I'm sitting in a Ranger, it feels small to me compared to the Defender. The Defender, the windshield is pushed out a little further. The dashboard, I think, is a little further away, and the steering wheel is moved a little closer to you. And it's a nice thick steering wheel, which I like very much. Adjustable tilt. If you're longer in the legs, the Ranger might have more leg room, but I don't think it has more width room, side to side, or even maybe headroom. When I was looking at Rangers, which includes the current year model, when I was getting in and out, my head was coming close to this, especially with a helmet. And I never got that feeling with this machine. I honestly think the Can-Am Defender has more room in the cab, more headroom. Maybe some of the people might feel the steering wheel is too close to them. They're not comfortable with that. I also like that it comes with an armrest in it. Well, you can't see it. I like that. I'll add another negative. This shifter is gated, and it's not easy to go from park to low to reverse because it's gated. People like the Polaris because it's straight up and down. I'm going to give that to you. I agree. I like the Polaris because it's straight up and down, especially if you're plowing with it. That gated is a little rough. The suspension. Even though I replaced the front A-arms, the ones that were on there were made of very heavy steel, along with the rear A-arms. Very rugged steel, strong, and they had grease fittings on them. Polaris does not have grease fitting on their suspension components. So, and the Visco lock. Never have an issue on the trail or on my property with the Visco lock. It always engages quickly. The rear, I can lock out the rear differential, which I do. I put Visco lock on when I'm crossing the creek. You'll see that as an opening to this video. And Visco lock has been fine. Axles have been fine. I'm sorry, the Polaris Ranger, if you're splitting hairs between the two machines, that's all you're going to be splitting. I think they're very close in technology. Where the Polaris, I think, runs away from the Can-Am Defender is with their ride command. I have it on my Razor Pro, and I have it on my Razor Trail Ultimate. That system, the instrumentation, the navigation system, the stereo, the cameras front and back on the machine, just push it ahead of this machine. Not only that, you can get an app on your phone to have ride command on your phone, which you can text and share your rides with all your friends that you ride with. Most of my friends don't own Polarises, but have the ride command app, and I didn't even know they have it. Excellent app. And again, something I never would have thought of having as a stereo on a side-by-side. I really enjoy listening to the engine and the sounds of nature. Stereo wasn't big on my list. Ride command changed me. When we were on the second half of the trail with my wife on Susquehannock and the Razor Pro, we were listening to Dean Martin's songs and having a great time. And around the property, I'm now carrying in the cab a box speaker that I have, and I'm listening to music as I plant grass, rake dirt, pick up sticks. So Ride command really is an outstanding feature on Polaris. I know, I'm not sure if Can-Am has a system like that. I don't think they do. I think it might be on a tablet form. In the cab market, there is only two. There's only, well, for off-road. My brother's going to get upset with me. I don't think the Gator with a cab is an off-road machine, frankly. He might be upset with me over that, but that's how I feel. So the two contenders for off-road, and it's a great John Deere, people, don't get upset. It's a great machine. He loves it. That has the most interior room and an awesome engine. The two contenders for full cabs, heating, air conditioning, power windows, tilt-out windshields are Can-Am Defender and Polaris Ranger. Those are the two. Honda Pioneer does not have a cab, does not have heat and air conditioning to my knowledge, has an awesome engine and transmission, a geared transmission. Awesome. I'm not interested in it because it doesn't have a cab. This is my wife's favorite vehicle. Now, if it was up to her, she wouldn't own any of this stuff, right? It's a man thing, a guy thing. But when we ride around the property, she likes it much better than the Can-Am Defender XMR because this is enclosed, and even during the summer we shut the windows, turn the air on, and we keep the bugs out during the summer. Same thing in the spring and fall. During the winter we have the heat on. So I only had this for 2 weeks. My mother-in-law was over for dinner and my wife said, why don't you take Mom for a ride around our property and show her the property? The three of us got in that machine, rode around my property, which I'm very proud of. I'm sure you are also of your property. Rode around the property, crossed the creek in this. Mother-in-law is super cool. She's a saint. My wife was happy. My mother-in-law was happy. She enjoyed the ride. Almost every time she comes over, we take her on a ride. I was thrilled because it was like my wife was accepting the machine and was putting it to use, and I just loved it. I am looking at a Polaris Ranger. In fact, I'm on a list to get a Polaris Ranger Trail Boss, which is really neat. I'm on a list to get that machine. So this machine will be leaving eventually. I don't know if I'll have the machine with today's world in a month, 6 months, or a year. So this machine eventually is going to be going. I'm getting a good, very fair price from my dealer to trade it in. Sure, it will find a good home. And I've enjoyed having it. And I'm enjoying having it, waiting for the Ranger to come in. So, Can-Am people, I hope you're not mad. I don't buy things for my channel for ratings or for my viewers. I buy them for myself. And I've moved over to Polaris really because they're so much easier to service with the oil changes and that ride command. It is a fantastic system. And those of you who have other channels that praise Polaris and the ride command, I can see why now. Very good system. So, and by the way, I'm splitting hairs on these machines. The rest of you might not even care about ride command. You might be happy with your Can-Am Defender. Loves his. That's fine. They're all, I would say all of them are good equipment. They have their strengths and their weaknesses, and I'm being critical on this one. I'm going to close out this video, and I just want to show you, this is how I use it most of the time. I usually have more stuff. And again, I was going to clean this up. I said no. I usually have 2 chainsaws in the back of this machine. It was filled, if you can see it over here, filled with grass seed and fertilizer. I've been spreading fertilizer on my property and grass seed and watering it to grow grass. Before it had that, it had a stack of hoses in the back and sprinkler heads to water areas way on the other side of my property and also on the other side of the island here. So I wanted to see how I use it. Inside, stuffed with cameras. Didn't clean up the inside so you could see it. And I'll give you an outside look. Tires are boss, aren't they? Tires are boss.